Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Josh. Welcome back to the Alpha Navigators Cup. This is the Grand Finals, Game 4. In the top right, in the red trunks, as the infernal host, is TheoRy. And in the bottom left, in the blue trunks, as the human vanguard, is Mixu. Now, I have to apologize to you guys. I didn't realize until this moment, or yesterday, that TheoRy actually started this series 1-0 up as he made it to the grand finals in the winners bracket, through the winners bracket. So the score is actually 3-1 to TheoRy after he picked up that map last game. So this is a best of 7. If TheoRy is to win this game, then he will win the whole series. But last time that we were on Secluded Grove, Mixu put up a really strong fight. He played a very aggressive style that TheoRy just couldn't keep up with, and that let Mixu come back into the game. So I have high hopes that he's going to put on a good showing this game. I don't know if he's going to go with the same style. I haven't seen any of these games in advance. But if it worked for him in the past, I don't see why he wouldn't give it another go again. This map does seem to be a more favoured map for him against the infernal, so we'll see what he decides to go with this time around. Something that is unusual is that the dog decided not to stick around and have a little nibble on the imps, which we have seen in previous games from our infernal player. Instead, he's choosing to run around the map looking for these resource flowers that spawn on this map. Both players are going with a relatively fast expansion this time around. Obviously, the power of Vanguard, they get their expansion up much quicker than the Infernals, using Bob Overcharge and power building. And he's built his first barracks. He is using this to produce units right now. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a Lancer. He's starting to mine Therium. There's the first Lancer now. On the other side of the map, we see TheoRy bringing out some gaunts. The dog is nibbling on his meat farm up here. But this is completely expected, getting some creeps, building up a bit of economy from farming the creeps. Every creep you kill gives you a little bit of Luminite resource, which is the main resource that is mined in Stormgate. And also, some of the creep camps give additional abilities, such as the speed camp, which he just killed, and you can see his units are running supercharged right now, as if they've been given a can of Red Bull. A nice bit of body blocking here from the Fiends, trying to slow down this Lancer and get an early pick off. That's a really nice kill to begin with from our Infernal player. A Brute out as well. Gonna pick up this Vision camp. This is a good start from TheoRy so far, starting off strongly. Here comes the second barracks from Mixu and a Biokinetics lab, so we're going to see quick upgrades to those Lancers to get that kinetic redirect ability, which makes them ridiculously powerful when they get hit. More creeping from our Infernal player. His early victory makes him feel safe to take all the creep camps in his area of the map. But we are going to see a lot of Lance production coming out of Mixu over the next few minutes, as he now has 2 barracks. The Fiends coming in to surround. That's a nice little catch. Going to get some good damage on these Lancers who haven't got kinetic redirect yet, but Lancers eat up Fiends for breakfast, and the surrounds does not last particularly long. And that is a nice little bit of damage for very little return from our Infernal player. There are a few health camps on this map, so if our Vanguard player so chooses, he can restore that health, and he's going to try and catch our Infernal player in a health camp himself. It looks like the Lancer upgrade is now available, and the positioning from Mixu is fantastic here. He manages to force our Infernal player out of the health camp and take up solace in it himself to get some much needed sustainability in this fight. That was a very nice tactical maneuver there from the Vanguard player. Doombringer is on the map now, very much in the eyes of Vanguard. He should be fully prepared for this. It managed to save majority of the army, and Mixu decides that he has to retreat to help defend against this. These Bobs were looking to make a move and secure another expansion using the Bob overcharge. It looks like he's going to continue to do that. The vision camp's picked up on the way to the vanguard base, which slows down the drop a little bit, but unfortunately for our vanguard player, he did use Bob overcharge to build this expansion, and there is a fiend here to try and stop it. I don't think this is going to stop it. Bob overcharge Bobs are quite substantial, but the drop is going to come in to put a little bit of pressure on here, and the overcharge has ran out now, so these Bobs are extremely fragile. This is a very nice pickup from our infernal player. The expansion does get built, unfortunately for him, and the Lancers are in a nice position to make it here and stop this aggression, but that's 5 Bobs down, which is not insignificant damage. Meanwhile, our infernal player is choosing to expand a second time himself. So far, there's been a lot less pressure from Vanguard onto the infernal player, which allows him to nicely expand. Opting to go for this kind of sticky out appendage base rather than the triangle base, which he went for last time. We'll see if that has a significant impact on the game or not. Doombringer is still hovering about, trying to pick up what damage it can. His Lancers in the worker line, which he spotted, which dissuaded him. Looks like Vanguard is going to scout this location. He sees that there's a base and is going to try and force a cancel out. Meanwhile, the Doombringer is trying to pick up all these creep camps. Army is nowhere near position to save this, so I do expect this to get cancelled. There we go, and there's the cancel on the imp. Will probably not survive that encounter. Bob overcharge is available again, so this drop is not going to get an awful lot of damage done and is dissuaded by the few Bobs and the Vanguard defenses in place. I suspect that might be a sentry post being built to add some extra defense. 2 more shrines being built by the infernal player to make up for the 1 lost. 1 to have an easy staging post and mining camp for this Therium, and another to try and get some more much needed Luminite income. Some Exos have been mixed into the army of Mixu, our Vanguard player now, and a Weaver has been built from our infernal player. Weavers, of course, are very powerful against tanky, healthy units, as they do percentage-based damage, but they do move very slowly and make this infernal army even less maneuverable, so this small skirmishy force of Vanguard will do well to try and find some hidden points in the defense, some vulnerable chinks in the armor of the infernal as it tries to move back and forth to defend the multiple pronged attack. At the moment though, we're just going to see a full frontal attack on this developing third base from our infernal player. Flame on imps now in the game, and gets a nice connection. A few casualties and damage spread across the front lines of these Lancers, but nothing substantial. And this health camp is going to bring our Vanguard player up nice and healthy. It's a very good staging post. That's another very good connection from the imps, but every imp that you convert to a flame on imp is an imp less mining, so it does tank your economy a bit, and if the hits aren't substantial enough, then it's not going to be worth the trade. It looks like our Vanguard player is content with guarding this. That's a much better connection from the imp. Then he manages to get the Exos without a shield of Lancers blocking the approach, and there's a lot of damage to the Exos. That's probably going to force our Vanguard player back to this health camp, which again proves to be a perfect staging point for future harassment. In the meantime, our Vanguard players decided to expand to the very lucrative base in the center of the map, which has access to all sorts of goodies and resources, and he's taking full advantage of that. You can see on the minimap that Infernal is trying to expand again to his previous third base spot. Hellborn on the map now, throwing out some basketballs. A very powerful siege unit, which may give the Infernal the defense that is needed to force this force back once and for all. A Bob has arrived again. I don't know if this is a bad rally or is going to be used for sentry posts. It looks like it might be used for sentry posts. We did see this in the previous time we were on Secluded Grove, and nothing happened because of it. And another Bob is here as well, so potentially it is a bad rally, but he's using it for good intentions. Doombringer is coming back in. That's going to get picked up by the Exos almost immediately, and there's not much of a standing army from our Infernal player here. He's going to use the Infest global ability. That does somehow get a connection. I don't think they were in this circle when that actually finished its timer. These imps are in a good position to pick up all of those Exos. That's exactly what's needed from our Infernal player. So far, a fairly solid defense. This base needs to start mining. But I am concerned that Vanguard has a much better economy going on right now, and Infernal just hasn't been in a position to fully reinforce the army to a point where they feel comfortable enough to push Vanguard away once and for all. Remember, every time those imps turn into flame on, that is another few imps not mining. And every time these Vanguard units escape a battle without dying, they get stronger and stronger because of the experience they're gaining from these fights. That wasn't a very good engagement from Infernal at all, and we do see the forces dwindling, more Flame on imps being committed to the fire. A Weaver and a handful of Gaunts are all that remain here from the Infernal army. The Vanguard chooses to expand another time, getting further ahead amidst all this pressure, making very good use of this health camp, which is now guarded by a turret with a Exo inside. What I like about this right now is our Vanguard player doesn't feel the need to force the issue. He's getting enough economic damage here by causing those imps to commit into a fiery explosion. He has expanded multiple times behind all of this, so economically he feels very powerful. And every time he fights, whilst he's not causing critical damage, he is forcing the Infernal player to remain in his base and keep his army numbers at a low level. Continual prodding going on throughout all of this. We're now up to 5 barracks with a hangar and another barracks being built in the background. It looks like a tech switch is going to come out of our Vanguard player here. These 2 Hellborns, 1 Hellborn now I should say, will do a nice amount of damage to this clumped up bunch of units. And it looks like there's only quite flimsy Exos remaining in this army, so I don't see this being able to have the staying power that previous forces had, even with that medtech there. Though using that sentry post for medtech healing is a very nice idea. I do like the placement of this sentry post to add extra utility to the army and defenses of this staging ground, which this health camp has been absolutely essential to maintaining this pressure and this contain. More flame on imps. It's not a bad connection there that time. It does a nice spread of damage, but this healing post is a problem, and I really don't see Infernal getting out of this spot. They are expanding behind all of this, which is nice. They're not letting their economy dwindle, but this constant pressure is keeping their army size in check. I wonder if we're going to get some Hornets out. It is a drop ship, which makes me think we're going to see some drop Atlas play potentially, or maybe drop Vulcan play. Wow, when the Exos get going, they really do destroy buildings quite fast. That shrine went down very quickly, which is disastrous for our Infernal player. You notice on the minimap the Bobs are heading over to expand to this base in the bottom right, but he will now see that there is an Infernal base there, so maybe Mixu is not as... Well, he might be thinking right now he's not as far ahead as he first thought. Though I do still think he's quite far ahead. This drop is going to pick up some Exos and maybe put some damage down here on this base. Here's a command post coming out to help support that damage. Some imps coming here to build some shroud stones of their own and get mining. But with this dropship here, this base will be in a little bit of danger, I'd say. A super tower gets put down as well. Meanwhile, multi-pronged attacks coming out from the vanguard player, which I do like to see. I think this is a fantastic use of the dropship, forcing your player to multitask, forcing them to defend on multiple fronts. The Infernal army is slow as it is, and this is a far way away from this triangle base. So getting that force down here whilst the damage is coming from the top is probably not going to happen. However, this force manages to break out. He might lose this base in the meantime. Those flame on imps don't get any connections. Nice little pickup, nice bit of control from Mixu, our vanguard player, as this shrine is certainly going to fall now. But the breakout has happened. The shrine is getting rebuilt. Another shrine has been built on the top left. That is certainly going to fall with this small amount of force. These imps should probably be converted to flame on imps to try and get as much damage as possible. But it's not all doom and gloom for Infernal. They've managed to finally push back the vanguard force and not contained in their own base anymore, and they can move out on the map once again. A little hole was made in the tree line here, and some damage is going to be done on this center base, which has gone uncontested all this time. All these minerals have been eaten up by the vanguard player without a care in the world. It's quite nice to return some damage. Sentinels on the field now, and Atlases. You don't often see Sentinels in a vanguard army, so it's quite nice to see them. I have seen a lot of talk about the underrated units. Now this force is dominating here. There is a dragon from the Infernal, which is created using the Animus. But that dragon falls very quickly to the strength of these Exos. And TheoRy thinks that enough is enough. This final battle was the straw that broke the camel's back, and GG's out of the game to bring the series score 3-2 in favor of TheoRy. Again, Secluded Grove seems to be a very strong map for Mixu, our vanguard player, when playing as Infernal. I like his aggressive style, his use of using the health camp to continue to add sustainability to his push and force pressure on the Infernal player to not let them gain control of the map, not let them branch out into multiple bases. I think Mixu showed great game control in this game, and it was an impressive showing. A very good victory. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you did like my casting style, then please give me a like and subscribe. Again, I'm going to be finishing out this series, and once I finish this, I'll look for new opportunities to cast, so please keep checking my channel, and I will try and update it with as much content to do with Stormgate as I possibly can. I mostly want to focus on casting, but if significant Stormgate news appears, then maybe I'll cover it, who knows. But I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch this, and I hope you all have a lovely day, and I will see you next time.